Hi everybody, I am Kevin the Bugman, and I am here with the first of many butterfly and insect pinning tutorials. It's a collaboration between Idlewild Butterfly Farm and Atelier Insecta, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. This is the cicada pinning kit that we're going to be doing today, but in the future we've got beetle kits, we've got arachnid kits, we've got lantern flies, lots of other things. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys will stick with us through all the videos in the series of all the pinning kits. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we are going to want to do is we're going to open up our cicadas. And we're going to be very careful with this because the cicadas are brittle inside there. So I'm being really sure to cut along the edge there. And what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a trick here. We're just going to cut the top of this cellophane across here. We're not going to try to go around this wing here because we'll end up cutting the wing. But now that we've got that cut, we can stick our scissors in here and cut right across the ridge of the body. And then we can pull our cellophane back to take our cicada specimen out. And that's the first thing you're going to want to do. You're going to open up all of your cicadas and get them ready to relax. All right, so now that we've got our 3 cicadas unwrapped and ready to go, we're going to use a Rubbermaid container, Tupperware container, whatever you've got. Some of them are Ziploc containers, but anything with a nice secure lid. And we are going to place our cicadas inside it. It doesn't matter if they're overlapping, just however you want them in there. Laying in there nice. Now our next step is we are going to need the hottest tap water you can get. Get it as hot as you possibly can, okay? We don't want boiling water because we don't want to get hurt, but the hottest tap water you can possibly get. So if anybody out there is a little guy or a little girl, you might want to get an adult to help you, just so you know, because tap water can get pretty hot, but that's what we're going to need. So that said, let's do it. So we are going to get our tap water. We're going to put some soap in it to get some suds, because the soap is going to help clean our bugs. Not only will they relax better, but they will also come out prettier. So let's go ahead and pour our soapy water onto our cicadas. There are 101 ways to relax insects. I chose this method because it'll go quickly and everybody will get to have fun. And it's a pretty surefire method of getting it done quickly. Okay, so now that we've got our 3 cicadas in our container with our soapy water, we are gonna put the lid on, get it sealed up tight, and we are gonna want to do this 2 hours before we pin our cicadas. All right, so we are gonna get started. We've got our first cicada here. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our tweezers and we're gonna loosen up the legs. We've got 2 front legs here. We're not going to worry about the legs that are in the middle. And we really don't want to loosen these too much, guys. We just want to pull them out a little bit so that they're visible. Now the ones in the middle here, we don't need to worry about. But these bottom ones are going to be visible. So we're just going to give them a little bit of a tug, and all we're doing is just breaking the joints free, because we're going to want these nice and visible. Now as far as the wings are concerned, the wings are already spread, and I specifically am using spread insects for this first go-round with the kits in order to verify that everybody got good specimens with good wings. So that being said, we're going to turn them over, and if you look right in the center here, that's where we're going to go with our pin, because when we pin cicadas, we're going to pin them upside down. So we're going to start out with a number 2 pin, like came in your kit. Mine are silver, some of yours might be black. But we're going to start out with a size number 2 pin, and we are going to go right here. If you look, you see the bottom, you see right here where there's 2 joints for the 2 bottom legs. If we go right in between here, I'll hold this up here, right in between those joints. I cannot thank my camera girl, my daughter Maya, enough for holding the camera right now, because I could not do this on my own. So we've got our pin through. We've got it through on the other side. And we're going to go ahead and secure our cicada down to our paper. Now mine, I put in crooked, so if you put yours in crooked, you just start over and straighten them out, because you want them laying on there as flat and evenly as you can. So we've got him started. So what we're going to do now is we are going to use 2 of our paper strips. And we're going to use our paper strips and our ball head pins that came with our kit. And we are going to lay these wings down. And we're going to put a pin in there. And we're going to put a pin in here. But we're not done. We're not done at all, because what we want to do is, our point to this is to give these cicadas life. Make them look like they're really flying around. So now that we've got our wings held down, we can go back to our size 2 pins that came with our kit. And we can use 2 of these pins at once, but what we want to do is, I want everyone to stick a pin on the side of this guy's head, not in him, just on the side of his head, just to hold him nice and still. Because what we're going to do with that is we're going to use that to keep him from moving while we articulate this wing. So we've got this wing up where we want it, and I am going to put a pin right through the top of this wing. And the reason I'm putting it through the wing is because these wings are clear and you will not be able to see the pinhole, which is a really, really great thing about cicadas. Normally I wouldn't tell you to pin through the wing, but on a cicada you can't see it, so the pinhole will be invisible. So we are going to come over here to our other side. We're going to remove this pin, bring it over here, but then we're going to place the pin down here to hold, and you'll be able to look at yours and tell when it's even. And that will keep the bottom from shifting while we lift this wing. And while we lift this wing, we can determine how much further this pin needs to go in to straighten the body. So now that we've got our other pin holding that in, I'm going to place another pin through the wing up here. It's clear where we're not harming the wing. Now that we've got those in, I want to put a little bit more pressure on these wings to hold them down, make sure they stay secured down for life. So I'm going to put one more pin there. So now we can take this guy out. And if you look at it, it looks like my guy still wants to shift a little bit, but it looks pretty fine to me. So what we're going to do next is we are going to use, and this is totally up to you, you can use the ball head pins that came with your kit, or you can use the size 2 insect pins. I would probably say use the size 2 insect pins, because we're going to need the ball heads for the strips. But what we're going to do is we're going to pin these guys' legs out. So we're just going to go right down over one. Get the pin in just enough to hold it back. We are going to do our next leg. Now we're going to go down here and focus on these bottom ones. Now, the trick to the bottom ones is that you're not going to be able to get a pin around the side of the body to hold this joint down. So you're going to want to put the pin, and you need to use a finger, you can actually stick it into the body of the cicada to hold out the leg. Very gently. And we are going to come over here and repeat the process. We're going to bring this leg down and use our finger to apply a little bit of pressure. We slide our pin in, bring that leg out until it's as even as we can get it with the other. And there we go. We have our first pin cicada specimen. Okay, so now it's time to move on to our second cicada, the big guy, Tocina albata. So we are going to, again, go right in between these two joints. Go right through, bring it right out the other side. Nice and straight. I'm going to straighten my pin up a little bit better, but then we're going to bring him down just like we did the other one, straight through the paper. Straighten it up if you have to. All right, and then we're going to move on to our strips of paper. That's going to be our second step. I will use my ball head pins to put my strips down again. All right, so now that we've got this guy secured, again, we are going to be able to use our number 2 pins that we were provided. We're going to bring these wings up. But what I want to do this time, because these wings are dark and we do not want to put holes through these because they'll show up. So we are going to place a pin right in there. I'm going to get another pin ready here, because we are going to bring this guy up here till he's even. Again, we're going to tack it down right there to hold that wing in place. Now, using your number 2 pins, we're going to repeat the process that we did with our first cicada. We're going to bring our front legs up. Okay, now this is fun. See, we've got a front leg that does not want to cooperate with us. So that's where sometimes you might have to use as many pins as you can. So I'm going to use 2 to make a cross right there. And then we'll see if we can bring this guy out. There we go. What happens is that makes his other friend over here look a little low. But we can correct that by raising him up a little bit. All right, so last but not least, we're going to use our number 2 pins. We are going to bring this guy down. We're going to go right into the body very gently. And then we're going to bring these legs out. And you guys are almost pros. All right, so now it's time to move on to our third and last cicada, which by this time you probably don't even need me anymore because you all are experts. So let's get started. So again, we are going to go through in between these 2 back legs, the 2 back joints back there. And you'll notice that this guy is a little harder than the other ones that we've been working with. He's just got a much more stout body. But you're going to bring it through on the other side just like the other ones. Might take a little bit more force, but it'll go through. And if not, because the pins, cicadas are ultimately, like if you're going to put these in frames, you're not going to want to frame them with the pin in them. So if you cannot get the size number 2 pin through, feel free to use one of the ball heads, because the pin is going to come out anyways when you flip it over to display it in the frame. So we're going to start the same way we started with the other ones. We're going to put our paper strips down on both sides. And this guy has super clear wings, so it's almost impossible to damage this guy with any pinholes. I'm going to go ahead and secure his back end because it's nice and pointy here and pretty hard with 2 pins. Now, bring the first wing up, pin right through, completely clear. You won't even be able to tell that a pin was put in there. Next one, we're going to come up here. We've got to go a lot higher there. Okay, so yeah, it looks about right. Okay, I'll check it. I'll double check in a minute for symmetry. But now, so we've got this fun little guy here that doesn't want to play fair. So we are going to have to use an extra pin here on him. But what you want to remember is that it does not go under. This bottom wing here goes above. just a tiny bit, just a little bit above, just to overlap it a tiny, tiny bit. Then you're going to poke your wing right through one of the veins, and when you poke it through the vein, it may try to go under again, but that's okay. Bring it up with the pin on it, over and down. Now you got your wing in there, nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead and put some pins in the sides here. Hold these in nice and tight. All right, and we're going to move on to our legs. So this guy really has some hard legs, so it may be a little difficult, guys. And because this guy's abdomen is so pointed, we don't have to stick to the body. We can come out onto the sides. Now, if you notice, my cicada has got a broken tarsi. So what I'm going to do, and tarsi is basically, it's a little foot here with the claws. But what I'm going to do is when I come back and flip this guy over to put him in a frame to display, I have an extra little foot right here that I can break off using my tweezers, and I can glue it on there so it looks like he's not missing any feet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope we can pin more bugs together, and I hope you'll check out some of the other kits that Idlewild and Atelier Insecta have to offer.